Hoi there, it's Skyward Shield. Welcome to Football Talks. I am joined by Bill. Say hello, Bill.
Hello.
The salt is very much real with me today, but it's fine. Let's just get started with the most important game of all. Tom Brady's return. Now it wasn't 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. We were off by a number. 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. He joins Warren Moon. I wish he was still around to play football, if you ask me, Bill. He
Right.
joins Warren Moon as the only 38 plus quarterback to throw 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in a game.
Damn.
So he torched the Browns, and here's the thing: he was rusty. He was rusty in the game. He missed some throws which he normally would make. So he definitely needs to shake it off. But this was the perfect game to start doing that. The Browns had no chance, and here's how bad. Not just him. He was not the only motivated one. You could tell the whole team was motivated. There were points galore, sacks galore. It was a wonderful time to be a Patriots fan. The throne of ease is ever so cozy today. But meanwhile, Cleveland is pure chaos, and you have to feel for Cleveland fans, but at the same time I have to ask, why are you still a fan of them? It's like this is going to be a very crude simile or metaphor, but why do you? It's like you're in a state of denial where somebody's telling you, seek help, you don't deserve this, and it's like, it's fine, it's nothing, things will get better soon. But
Right.
it's not. It's not. I just don't see the Browns coming out of this anytime soon, if not ever. It is a cycle of history they refuse to learn. I mean, I like Hugh Jackson as their coach, but this is a bad roster to start with, and you could have all the draft picks in the world, but here's the thing. It's one thing if you had a bunch of first round picks, but you have a bunch of late round picks. Now, if Cleveland's smart, they will trade those draft picks because in like 2 years they might have enough picks to make up more than half of their football team, which you don't want a team full of rookies.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my point.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Cleveland: they need veterans that want to go there, and what self-respecting veterans then go into a tire fire and be like, "Yes, I will take this job, knowing that I won't win."
Yeah. So the same thing with the Titans, which I think the Titans are going to do. You kind of noticed that in the draft they were already sending some picks. That's how they got Derrick Henry. Um, but if they both are going to be probably need to do that if they're any good teams. Ironically, they both play each other this week, so yeah, that's the thing. But as for the Patriots, going back to the Patriots, the defense was so motivated they knocked out not one but two quarterbacks from play. Cody Kessler got knocked out, and then Charlie Whitehurst, clipboard Jesus, was also back. He got knocked out too, and Terrell Pryor had to start for a bit. Soon, what's his name? Charlie Whitehurst able to come back and finish the rest of the game, but it makes you wonder. These Browns are not going to catch a break this year. It feels like this year, especially for the sake of trying to make the good kind of progress, they're going to go through the worst trials ever, and they won't pass. Because 0 and
See,
16, Bill, feels like a reality so far. It feels like it's coming.
it really does. And as and I'm gonna sound really mean, but as a Detroit Lions fan, I am glad that the Cleveland Browns are on an 0-16 trajectory because guess what? That Lions team was a better team than this Browns team is right
Oh boy, if only we could make them play.
now. I mean, good lord. If you lined up what the Lions had and you line up what the Cleveland Browns have, it's no contest. The Lions had more talent at every position than the Cleveland Browns have right now.
Yep. So let's stay with New England if possible now. But
Oh yeah.
so the how Tom Brady did, aside from me saying the rust, he got some deep throws. But to be fair, any quarterback can get some good deep throws on this Brown secondary, which is even the biggest weakness among weaknesses. They've got plenty.
Oh yeah.
But so that was good. LeGarrette Blount ran very good. Martellus Bennett got 2 touchdowns, I believe. Martellus Bennett is becoming a bigger target than Gronk, but to be fair, Gronk is still not at 100%. And normally before we had, in the awkward era of no good other tight end to complement Gronk, between the Aaron Hernandez and now Martellus Bennett, because we don't speak of our Aaron Hernandez, right, Bill? The guy's a murderer.
Yes.
But,
Uh,
why would you throw away all that power, man? Why did you do that? Oh well. But in that awkward era, if Gronk was an absolute Jenga piece, if you took him out, the whole team would crumble because he was that important to this team. But now Gronk can play some snaps, but not have to worry about getting those crucial targets when they matter most, because now they have a safety net beneath that safety net, because you can trust Martellus Bennett, who's having a phenomenal year. And I remember pundits are saying, "Oh no, Martellus Bennett's not going to do much for the Patriots because you have Gronk." But honestly, this is why he was signed. If the chance Gronk got hurt, if he was going to be not at full 100%, you can become the guy and get all those throws and still be just as effective. This offense already, even if the Patriots looked rusty on that side of the ball, looked primed for the Super Bowl.
oh yeah. And here's the other issue: is with both tight ends, if you start double covering both Martellus Bennett and you double covered Gronkowski, that leaves Edelman and Hogan, who scary is that Chris Hogan is starting to develop into a great wide receiver. And you have Julian Edelman already. You have another great one in Hogan coming. And you got Martellus Bennett. And you got
Where's Amendola? I
Gronkowski.
haven't seen him at all.
I mean, Amendola is still there, and you can throw him in the slot. You could literally run out uh, your a running back into a two tight end set with like three wide receivers, two tight end set. You could run off that. You could there's it's just the scariness of the tip of the iceberg
Yeah.
with this team. It's so versatile. You could try to stop something, and they got three other things to hit you in the head with.
Yes. But I think this offense, once it starts gelling and Tom Brady is not missing throws he should get easy, this looks like it's gonna come down to what week is that? I don't remember. Later in the season's like early December. Um, Broncos hosting the Patriots. That game alone will tell us who's hosting who. Because it's probably going to be those two for the title game this year. I wish it wasn't the Broncos, but it's just looking very likely. However, granted, the Broncos got exposed at home by a really good offense in the Falcons. So,
Yes.
but I mean, I'll mention that later. But now, at first, it looked like as long as the Broncos kept winning, they would they would hold the pieces, or they would hold the number one spot. So things look fine for the Patriots. But I mean, if you want to
Yes,
talk about throne of ease, you have other teams right now. If you ask me,
they do.
I
And
mean,
the other thing that's also coming along is the Patriots defense is sneaky good too. Let's not just their defense didn't play too bad over the last few weeks. They've played really
they've been a
well,
good
and
defense, but just not Denver tier, or in
yeah,
this
they're
case,
not
Minnesota
Denver
tier.
tier.
But
But
it's still a like verge of top 10 tier defense.
I mean, they don't need to be top 10. I mean, last year the Denver, if we were to say, the Brady-led Patriots of this year, Brady can throw the football. The Broncos of last year needed that defense because the offense was getting carried.
Yeah. Well, he had an old quarterback there playing to like his last legs. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else worth pointing out with this. All you could say is that we all saw this one coming.
Oh yeah, that was a train wreck waiting to happen right there.
Yeah, you can't help but pity the Browns, but at the same time, I'm just on to Cincinnati. Like, literally on to Cincinnati because they're next on the schedule.
Yep.
But anyway, let's move on to, speaking of top defenses, no, not Houston's. Minnesota is most definitely for real. And if looking at their schedule, Bill, like I mentioned, the only games I think they could lose are to Philly, Arizona, and Green Bay again when they play again. But here's the thing, that Arizona game, that they're hosting them, and I honestly don't think I could pick against Minnesota at all when they're at home, because I've mentioned it before, I like that stadium. That stadium, I would like to go watch a game there, or just visit there for a day. Because it looks fun, it looks nice, like everyone says Jerry World is the greatest stadium. I say no, this thing's barely a month old, and I already bequeath that it's the best stadium in football. And not just that, it is the worst stadium to play in so far. Forget Arrowhead and the Clink. This stadium is loud. This stadium is nasty. You do not want to play here. It's hard to even call plays. But let me just get to the worst part. The Texans were virtually shut out. They put points mostly in garbage time. Even when they were set up good by good special teams, they weren't doing anything on offense. Osweiler already is showing that he is not worth the money. He needs to start to prove it, because until then, this team is a pretender. It is a clear pretender. There were questions when they got shut out by the Patriots, but now this has pretty much confirmed it. The Texans are not anywhere near close to a Super Bowl route. They are not going there. They are not even enjoyable to watch on offense, if you ask me. On defense, Jadeveon Clowney. I know he's a first-round pick. He is the first overall pick, but if every game you're going to get an offsides call, because I get it, he wants to rush the quarterback. That's a good trait to have, an eagerness to make the play, but that needs to stop. Because that one was a 3rd and 9, I believe, when that happened. And then it became 3rd and 4, and guess what? First down.
Right.
Might have been able to stop them, because when that play happened, I believe they got about 7 yards. So if that play happened still the same way, it would have been 4th and 2, and they would have had to punt. Right. So and not to mention the defense just got hurt all over. Let me see. John Simon got hurt. Jonathan Joseph got a concussion, I think. I'm not sure on that. A lot of defensive players got hurt for Houston, so this defense just got even worse. I mean, Watt being here wouldn't have made a difference if you ask me, because this was all mostly on the offense. To the Vikings' credit, I'm amazed. They are the only undefeated team left, and they have Sam Bradford as their starting quarterback. I remember he wanted to be traded off, and then towards the end he was fine because he wanted to be the starter. They're like, fine, you can start over Carson Wentz. And he was fine, but then, the Teddy Bridgewater injury happened, and they had to get a quarterback. They did not want to, it's like, oh, guess what, we're not going to go to the playoffs this year, I guess. No, they wanted to fight. They intend to fight, and this is how far they're willing to go. And it looks like, so far, it's going to pay off.
Yep.
So,
no,
finish, Bill.
They made the right call there.
They did, and now it looks like they're going to dominate the division, not just barely steal it from Green Bay. It looks like they're just going to outright rob them. Like they're gonna rob
Just
it. Like it was
dominant.
once like throne of the Packers are what I consider the NFC Patriots because they're always playoff bound. They always dominate their division, but not anymore. And Minnesota is saying not so fast. It's like we don't like that. I mean, to be fair, the other two teams don't like it either. But Chicago is not even trying at this point. And
Right.
Detroit is just Detroit. They find ways to blow games. I'm sorry, Bill, but it's just true. I
I
mean,
mean, I
you're not San Diego, but you're still going to blow some games that you should win.
I mean, there was no reason we came out like a dud against Green Bay like we did, but that's I expected of the Lions to come out like duds.
Yeah, but Bill, this Vikings defense, it feels like there are 20 players on the field. Because here's the thing, Dwayne Brown came back, but I don't think it didn't mean shit. This offensive line, it may be the source of everything, like the root cause of why Osweiler has trouble. But to be honest, I don't think like I don't think you can plug Osweiler even in the Cowboys or even like the Titans offensive line. Which fun fact, Bill, the Titans offensive line, even after getting destroyed by Houston the other day, they were still ranked one in protection.
Right.
So you could put him in top lines like that, and I don't think he'll do as well. Maybe he'll play better, but I think I also mentioned it last time, but Osweiler is a high risk, high reward quarterback, and that is not good to have here, especially when your line is bad. You need to play more conservative in terms of, taking those risky shots because you got picked off. In fact, that could have been a pick six. Or no, not that one. There was another one that one player dropped from the Vikings, and that would have been a pick six if he caught it.
Right. I mean, he he is the definition of the gunslinger mentality, and Osweiler needs to protect the football, especially against great defenses like that, ball hawking defenses.
Yep, and here's the thing. I said they were contenders, and here's why. They've lost two games to and horribly. It's one thing if you play them close, but you lost these bad. In fact, it should be just nothing. They should have 0 points because they didn't deserve the 13 points they worked for in this game because that was garbage time. Here's how easy this is how quick the game was over. 8 minutes in the second quarter. When it hit that moment in the clock, that's when the game was over. That's sad. It took a quarter and a half to just declare the game was over. So
Right. I
this
mean,
is how dominant their defense is. This is how overwhelming it is. This is the Denver defense, and I don't know if you call them, 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, but if they keep playing like this, especially at home, they very well could be. It's too early to
they
say that right now. What, Bill?
I would say that this Vikings defense is really, really good. I wouldn't put them as a legendary defense just yet.
Everyone
I
said
don't
that
even
Broncos defense was legendary, but I don't think so.
no, I don't think so either. They're not.
I
See,
I think
when I think
okay,
of
I think any pundit will say like if the defense was so much better than the offense because the offense was not doing much on its own, then they declare it to be legendary because wasn't that the same case with the 2000 Ravens and the 85 Bears? Their offenses were okay, average
their
at best.
yeah, their offenses were okay, their defenses were great, but I also think of it like this. You know, defenses like the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens or even the 2012 or the 2013 Ravens or not Ravens,
Seahawks,
Seahawks.
wrong bird, Bill.
Uh those were revolutionary type defenses. Those were revolutionary defenses. They changed the way the game was played. The Bears played a 4-6. They were the best team to ever play defense, in my opinion. Then the 2000 Ravens had a very versatile group of linebackers, a lot of guys that could rush the quarterback. In the 2012 Ravens, I keep saying the Ravens, the Seahawks had the Legion of Boom, and they were big, tall corners that were shutdown type corners that you don't see. That's my definition of a legendary defense. The Denver Broncos were more of a product of their the way they called games, and I think this year's Minnesota Vikings are a product of how the game is being called.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I notice is I'm seeing big players who look like defensive ends cover tight ends very well. Like they're playing linebacker positions very well. Which that's like saying if Vince Wilfork played linebacker and went to cover it, one of the smaller type of players and did it very well. But
Right.
here's the other thing: Houston's defense is not good at stopping the run this year. I'm shocked that that's the case, but this team has no good run stopping. These guys were the two people who were running against them were like no names. But when you play like that, if they play like that the rest of the year, they probably won't have Adrian Peterson after this year because he gets a lot of money, and now he is possibly past the point with that injury like that. He might not be the same player, so they might just cut him this year, whether or not, no matter how things turn out.
He might stay, but he might have a reduced role, and they might pay him less. So
Yeah,
I mean,
the injury is definitely a reason to not pay him as much.
right.
But I mean, I could go on about how this offense annoys me, but let's just focus on Osweiler and then move on because this is the thing. Elway is having a ball. I mean, granted, he probably wasn't having the smuggest face today or that day because his team lost, but he's glad he didn't take that offer. He is really glad, and he's going to show that especially when it's game day because after this week, Houston goes to play another a Super Bowl caliber team. I mean, these are the defending champions. They're going to play Denver over there on Monday Night Football. And if Osweiler can't even handle that defense, which I think is the number 2 defense because I say Minnesota's number 1 now. I mean, you've made Aaron Rodgers and Eli Manning look like jokes. Cam Newton, you pretty much stuffed him after a quarter or two of him having a good game. How is this not a top 3 defense if you ask me? When you beat quarterbacks, you beat the MVP, was Eli Manning an MVP at one point?
He was Super Bowl MVP 2 times.
Oh well. I mean, not NFL level MVP because Cam was the first time. That was his first NFL MVP, and Aaron Rodgers has been MVP for pretty much every other year.
I mean, he's been an MVP of
3 times.
1 or 2 times.
Feels like every time at this point, because the MVP award is just quarterback of the year. That's what it is.
Quarterback of the year, aka it's either Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cam Newton was the one-off. Kind of surprised Russell Wilson hasn't won it, but anyway, straying off topic. Brock Osweiler is not living up to his money. And, okay, you could argue, yes, this guy needs time to get used to it. I understand that, but it's one thing if you're a rookie quarterback or you were getting paid little, like Brian Hoyer little. Because his contract is nothing compared to what Osweiler is getting paid.
Right.
But if you're getting paid $72 million, that means you should be making an impact from the minute the first game starts. You should be an impact player, and not for good, not for worse. You should be lighting up the field. I'm not saying you're Tom Brady, but at the very least, you shouldn't be playing like Brian Hoyer. In fact, during Brian Hoyer's first 5 games, his average quarterback rating is much better than Brock Osweiler's. Now that's scary. I did not think I would hear that somebody was playing worse than Brian Hoyer was.
Right.
That surprised me, and I mean, if it stays like that, I will call for Osweiler's removal from the team because I believe we mentioned it a couple weeks ago. I don't think it was last game, but Hopkins' contract and how I thought Osweiler's contract long term would make it harder for certain players to stay.
Right.
And if that money, if that 72 million didn't, if let's say he didn't sign Osweiler, he stayed with Denver, or he went somewhere else, that money would all go to Hopkins. I guarantee you, that money alone would go to Hopkins. Probably a few more million. That would have been his contract. That 72 million should have been his extension.
Right.
But this is frustrating because here's the thing: Hopkins played better with worse quarterbacks, and he's doing even worse with this 72 million guy. I mean, you send Hopkins to a good enough quarterback, like I don't know, maybe not even Aaron Rodgers, but someone like Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers, he's gonna be lighting up the field.
Right. And getting thrown to in all situations, and they would figure out a way how to get DeAndre Hopkins into the game plan. That's another thing. They could jet sweep him. I mean, he's a talented wide receiver with the ball in his hands. Give him a chance to make plays. If he's not catching it down the field, jet sweep it and let him run the football.
Yeah. I just honestly, that's probably Will Fuller's job now. I think they're gonna let Fuller do that because he has the speed. He's faster
Right.
than Hopkins, if you ask me.
Oh
He's
yeah.
the
Oh
fastest
yeah.
player on that team, that's for sure. But
Most definitely.
what?
I said most definitely.
But they both got shut out in the first quarter. I don't even know how many times they were targeted. Will Fuller, of course, had a drop. He had his drop, but by then it didn't even matter. But so I was like, oh look, there's the annual or the average the obligatory. I'm gonna drop a deep pass that could have changed the game type of moment. He had that moment in that game.
Right. Yes.
Like okay, Houston hasn't beat. Houston's like where the Lions were for the past few years. Even when they were winning games, like when the Lions made the playoffs, they didn't really beat a team that was a winning team. Like not just Super Bowl teams, but those who were generally always positive. Like they would go 9-7 minimum. Like let's say like the Steelers or the Bengals, someone like them. You can always count
Right.
on them to go positive, even if they don't make the playoffs. They
Exactly.
couldn't beat they
Exactly.
couldn't beat teams like them. That's Houston's situation. Because after Denver, the only other team I could think of, the only other team I can think of that's positive all the time is Green Bay and Cincinnati. But Cincinnati, I get this feeling they're going to go 8-8 because they miss Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu. I think they miss them both. They
They
needed
missed
players
them
like them.
both, and Tyler Eifert being out. That was a lot of production that they were missing.
Yeah, and they were going to draft a wide receiver, but then every other team decided to take one. Three in a row went off the board. Will Fuller, Laquan Treadwell, which he's not even playing for the Vikings, which who cares? They're fine. And who was the other guy? I forget the other guy, but whatever. So yeah, not it's just it's a tire fire on offense for the Texans, and it gets to me. The only player who's playing good is Whitney Merciless, but that guy can't do much. He can't carry. He's not the type of player who can carry a team. He's no Watt, so he's no Von Miller. He's not a player that can just carry you, which it makes me sound like I'm dissing his character, but I'm not. But
Nope.
yes, Houston is probably going to go 9-7 and win the division if they beat the Colts this week. If they beat the Colts this week, I will already say they've got the division in the bag.
Right.
They
I would agree.
Yeah, but anyway, let's move on because any more longer and this team's going to just make me hate myself because I want Dallas to falter and it seems hubris has caught up with me and is taking it out on the Texans.
Right.
Yep.
Oh jeez.
Again, if Osweiler falters, you know whose heads are going to roll. It's not just his. He's not the only one getting run out of town, Bill. Who's getting run out of town with him?
Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is
Probably
run
Rick
out
Smith,
now.
their GM, who I think is a great GM. He gets good players and he starts them right away. He doesn't let them sit for like 2 years. He starts them right away with their first round picks. But
Right, and
I mean,
that's a decent way to handle stuff like that.
Well, they get players who are starter ready. They don't get developmental talents in the first round like some teams do. You know what I mean? They don't. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but yeah.
Right.
I guess Laquan Treadwell is one of them, because since he's not starting.
Right. Yeah. I would agree.
But I mean it's Bob McNair's choice as well. But when does the owner fire himself? When will he blame himself? He won't go.
Never really.
He won't go down with the ship. But anyway, we'll move on to a game that I was gunning for this one since the season started. The Lions' first 3 drives, 3 touchdowns apiece, including a sack where Fletcher Cox just ripped off Matt Stafford's helmet and was shocked that he got a flag. Which, yeah, it's one thing if it just pops off when the sack is happening, but you did it before he got to the ground. That's a flag every time, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard Morelli was there. Was Pete Morelli?
Yes, he was. He was there.
But a shocker, Bill. He didn't do anything that was too out of favor against the Lions.
Well, he did one of his characteristic things. He did one of his things that ticked me off in the playoff game, and he did it again in the game. And he picked up a flag against the Philadelphia Eagles without explaining it properly.
Oh, yeah, he did it again.
He didn't explain it. He just picked it up and
yeah,
like,
and the announcers were like,
going.
"It seems he picked up the flag and won't tell us why."
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, I stopped. This game aired at the same time as Houston, so I just turned off that game and searched for the Lions game on the internet, and I started watching it there.
Right.
So yeah,
I mean,
that's how bad the Houston game was to watch. But yeah, but Bill, what were you saying?
But overall, and I'll put it this way, the Philadelphia defense played like a typical Jim Schwartz team. Dirty, nasty, and consistently wild.
Yeah, I mean both teams drew a lot of flags.
Yeah, they didn't play normal defense. I mean, you have Matt Stafford getting his helmet ripped off. That's typical of a Jim Schwartz team. I mean, look at what he did with our defense, and we were called dirty forever. So that's a characteristic of his teams. They're just dirty teams. Look at that Buffalo defense a couple years ago. That was a dirty defense. So it's not surprising that Jim Schwartz would coach a dirty defense. And thankfully, the offense started out on fire. The offense looked really good.
Hey Bill, let me let you in on a secret. I like this Cooter. This guy's great. Jim Bob Cooter for president, Bill. We need to make Detroit football great again. Bill, after this recording, I have to get your opinion on politics, man. But that's for later. But Bill, so I'm liking Jim Bob Cooter. However, I wish they'd stay. I don't know what happened in the second quarter. They only got 3 first downs, 2 or 3 first downs in this whole second half.
Yeah, it was like 40 yards in the second half. The offense fell apart. They couldn't move the football. And it felt like a typical Lions game. They came out. I mean,
I'm missing Amir Abdullah. I don't know if you've noticed, but I miss Amir Abdullah. He is very much missed on the offense because Theo Riddick is not a 3-down back.
Theo Riddick's not a 3-down back. I'll give you one name that was running the football really well.
Oh, it's Zenner, wasn't it?
Zach Zenner was running that football really well, and they kept taking him out of the game. Why take him out of the game? He's running it through the middle of the football field effectively. Keep him in the game. Theo Riddick, while being a good pass-catching back, is not a running back. He is not a running back. flat out. He is a wide receiver in the backfield. He is not a running back.
Yeah, but now I
Oh,
want
oh,
to talk to you, Bill, about the Eagles, for a bit. 3-1. I kind of I was expecting this. I mean, I thought they'd be 2-2, but whatever. Carson Wentz, Bill. Do you still think he is on the route to possibly being offensive rookie of the year?
yes. And the way he started out that game, even when they were down 21-0, he still was 12 of 14 for over 100 yards. That kid is a great football
Cleveland
player.
is
He,
kicking themselves right now. But to be
I
fair,
mean,
I'm kind of glad they didn't get him because it would have been a waste of talent.
I, I mean, poor Carson Wentz would be running for his life
He'd probably
every.
no, he probably wouldn't be because he'd be on IR.
I mean, at the rate the current Browns team is going, yes. But obviously, I think he's the clear choice for offensive rookie of the year because no one expected anything from that Philadelphia Eagles team. That Philadelphia Eagles team was looked at as a 4-12 team.
Yeah.
That was the general consensus. That team was a
Oh
4-12
yeah. I
team.
mean, remember
There's
how I
no
said
talent.
that this division would have been like won by a 7-9 team?
Yeah, right now, I mean, Philadelphia, it's got their quarterback of the
It's not
future
just
in
Philly
Carson
that's
Wentz.
playing well though. They're all playing okay. They're playing mediocre to above average.
Right.
Like, because you have Washington, the Washington football team beat Baltimore, and they forced them to fire their coordinator, the offensive coordinator, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh,
it's
Trestman. Yeah, Trestman.
yeah. So I mean, you must have did something good, but to be fair, Washington was so distraught all game. I'm amazed they even won. I don't know how Baltimore didn't capitalize, but and then you
Right.
have Dallas playing lights out. In fact, now Dallas has the lead of the division only because Philly has had their bye already.
Right.
And remember, Dallas Philly. That's when Romo comes back. Which we're gonna
And
talk
that
Dallas later,
that's
but what, Bill?
that,
That game is probably
I'll,
gonna
I'll,
decide. That's also like this week's Colts Texans game. That game is probably gonna decide who has the what am I looking for here? Like who's gonna have the best? Who's gonna have the advantage for the division early in the year? And if they
right.
just maintain that division, because remember they're playing at this point, and then they're gonna play at the end of the year. They're the last games for each other. So
Right.
if whoever wins the first game, this first game, and if they can keep that leg up over the other team, then that last game won't matter. Because look, these
But
guys aren't getting a bye week. I will be shocked if the NFC East gets a second, just gets to number 2 or even number 1.
yeah, they're
Because as things
they're a three
stand,
or
it's
four
gonna
seed.
be it looks like it's gonna be it looks like it's gonna be if Minnesota number 1 and probably okay, it's either Atlanta or Seattle, which, by the way, Bill, when we get to the picks later, a lot of these games are deciding who's going to get seeding already. I'm surprised we're thinking about that so early, but I think this week is so important for a lot of teams if they want to get the
Right.
bye week.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so
One
I can agree with you,
one
Bill. I think
last.
Carson Wentz might get rookie of the year, but here's the thing: look who their contenders are. Dallas Cowboys players. It's one thing if they
And,
were from another team, because then it's pretty much even. But these are Dallas players. Bill Elliott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak Prescott are Dallas Cowboys players. Bill, I will be shocked if let's say things like they scale up to where they both make the playoffs somehow, and let's say they get eliminated in like the first week or the second week.
I'll still put
I'm gonna put all my money that a Cowboys player is gonna win.
and overall Carson Wentz is the better of all
I
three.
think he's better of all three, but here's the thing: like I say, Bill, it's Dallas Cowboys player. Do you see what type of point I'm trying to make here?
Yeah, yeah. The bias
Of the
the
of the
the quote
Cowboys, like
unquote.
there is such a love for Dallas in general. I mean, of all these bandwagon teams of the recent years, like you got your Seahawks, you got your Panthers, which that bandwagon's already dissipating, which is a lot faster than we could have foreseen.
That that bandwagon's on
That
fire.
bandwagon already broke. It tried to ford the river, and it sank, and everybody died. Bill, did you get that
Oregon
reference? Do you know
Trail
what I'm
reference.
referencing?
The Oregon Trail reference. I approve of it.
Yep,
Oh man.
they tried to ford the river. They tried to ford the 16-foot river.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll put one last thing on the Detroit Philly game.
Yeah.
Just
So we haven't
to
even
tie
talked
a
about
bow
Bill.
on
We
that.
haven't even talked about the final moments. Darius Slay.
Yeah,
Darius
that's
Slay.
exactly what I was gonna say. The defense of the Lions came up big when they were needed most, which I haven't been able to say this entire year. Thank you, Darius Slay, for making big
Well,
plays.
he
I'm
got
calling you
paid,
the
Bill.
Slayer
He got
now.
paid, and he had to have a game where he won it by himself. Well, not by himself, but he won the fourth quarter for them.
Of the two plays that he made, the forced fumble and the
Well, let's look at them one at a
interception,
time. The forced fumble,
the
Bill.
the forced fumble occurred when I think they were trying to run the football and they
Yeah, they gave it to
just
Ryan
fumbled it.
Matthews, and Darius Slay knocked the ball out. Of course,
Yep.
they're saying this was controversial, but there's two
Oh,
problems with that. One, you can't. There was not enough evidence to overturn it. So that was probably, even if you could make a case, even Pete Morelli couldn't find a way to turn it over,
right.
or to not let it turn over the play, not let the ball not turn over. But even so,
I mean,
even if it stayed,
that play-
even if it stayed with them, it would have been 4th and 2, and they probably would have punted, because at that time they're not that far behind. They were within what? They were within
two.
no, they were about 4 minutes, so they could have stopped them and still had the 2-minute warning.
Oh yeah, no, but they were within 2 points where the Lions
Yeah.
they were trailing by two.
Yeah,
And overall, actually, what happened for the Philadelphia Eagles actually gave them time because if the Lions were forced to move down the field, that would have ate the entire clock.
well, that's if they even made it. Like I said, if they
Exactly.
had Amir Abdullah, I would have taken those chances because I can trust Abdullah to actually get a first down. I think he could have done it.
The 9 out of 10 times, a team can get going down the field. Teams like to drop into that prevent defense, which prevents you from winning, and typically everything shallow and underneath is open.
Yeah, but so there is that. There is that, and there's a rule that says if a player's out of bounds and if they touch the ball becomes out of bounds. Which when I look at the film, it doesn't look like the Eagles player was out of bounds when he hit it. And by the time he was getting out of bounds, a Lions player dropped on the ball and got it.
Right.
So I was too little, too late. But then the other one, Bill. Here's the thing: that catch, the pick, Carson Wentz's first interception. That if that was another cornerback, that would have been a catch. Do you know how close that was to going into the hands of the Eagles player? Anderson, I think his last name was.
Yeah, it was too close for comfort.
It was. I thought it was over right there. He just took a shot down the field. That's how good this kid is. He could have made it. And here's the thing: Doug Peterson is blaming his rookie quarterback and that wide receiver on the game. It's like, no, I don't fault Carson Wentz for that because that was a really well thrown ball. Here's the thing: Darius Slay bullied and intimidated Anderson into pulling back a little bit, and just that little bit of space, let Darius Slay take it. And here's the thing: I think that if you had a bigger cornerback like Patrick Peterson or Richard Sherman, I don't know if they would have been able to catch that. They might have deflected it but I don't think they could have picked that because they're just too big.
Right.
Because Darius Slay is shorter, he could cut ahead of him and get the ball.
Right. I mean, there's a place in the NFL for the big corner, but the small corners are still a very viable
Yeah,
thing.
but Darius Slay could not have decided to take a game for himself. So this game wasn't pretty. I keep telling you, Bill, these close games are not good for my heart, but somehow, some way, you win. You're 2-3. Not, I mean, I don't know. I don't think the Lions are getting a playoff spot. I mean, the division's all but over already.
Right.
Especially
I mean,
if the Packers or one of the other two teams I mentioned don't stop Minnesota. They're practically guaranteed a bye week. But yeah, Bill, it's tough being a Lions fan, but hey, you win the game. You win the game.
exactly. That's all that matters to me right now.
Yep. By the way, you play the
And
Rams this week,
two
and
more.
according to the consensus, it is a clean 50-50 split. So this game is a toss-up. This game is a literal toss-up, and I can see that. But anyway, so let's move on to the last game of the week. Cincinnati at Dallas. We mentioned how it's not just Carson Wentz for Rookie of the Year candidacies. Uh, Dak Prescott played amazing. He still hasn't turned the ball over in terms of a pick. He did let go of a fumble, but that doesn't. He's knocking on the door of the record Tom Brady set of over 160 pass attempts or completed passes without a pick.
Right.
So he's knocking on that door. Carson Wentz stopped at 125 because that
Yeah.
Darius Slay decided to say hi. But Dallas, their defensive line is coming back together because DeMarcus Lawrence is back, and then you have Tyrone Crawford, and you have Sean Lee to add in some pressure now and again. So the line is fine. The secondary, not so much. But all they had to do was contain AJ Green, which I guess that was enough because AJ Green did not see any catches until 21 minutes in the game, which is
Yeah, it was something
surprising. And
crazy like that.
the Cowboys started hot and they just kept that lead. The Bengals had no chance, which this is shocking to me, Bill. Like I said, I expected Dallas to blow a lot of games because their defense is not doing good, but because they're being kept off the field, they are not playing as much and they're not being relied on too much.
Right. And I think that's going to change fairly quickly.
Yeah, because like I
Uh,
said, Bill, they've got Green Bay next. In Green Bay.
yep.
And here's the thing. I said you needed to beat two out of those five teams. You beat the Bengals, which congrats, that's the easiest one. But now, can you do that again in Lambeau? And then can you do this? Can you hang with those type of quarterbacks that don't mind shootouts? Can you hang with players? Can you hang with top tier quarterbacks like Big Ben, like Ben Roethlisberger? And guess what? You're playing both of them in their places. I believe you're playing. I believe they're playing Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. So good luck with that. You're playing in two of the most hostile fields. They're not even the loudest crowds. It's just not good place. They're not good places to be at. But can you
Right.
beat one of them? Can you beat Baltimore? And can you especially beat Minnesota, who is playing like a top three defense and just a Super Bowl bound team this year? Can you do that?
And
That is
I mean,
Dallas's big test. If you can beat those type of teams, then I will start believing in you. Because
right.
as things stand now, they are still. I'm not gonna get myself sucked into this hype because I've seen this song and dance before, and trust me, you're gonna run into a team that shuts down the offense, and you gotta cling to the defense, and that is not good. That's not good. But Bill,
Right.
so let's look at this game. Ezekiel had another 100-yard game. Do you think he's just getting better as time goes along, or is it a matter of they're playing teams that can't exactly stop the run, so he's just steamrolling over them? You're
I
taking you're
think
just
it's
you're just taking care of business.
I think it's a combination of both. and I think he is getting better as the season goes along. But he's also facing teams that have been really poor defensively. And to be fair, really, in that second half against Cincinnati, they minus that one breakaway run, they didn't allow anything. So I mean, it was more that they they are playing teams that haven't played really good defensively against them yet,
Of
and
course, Mr. Jerry Jones is saying, "Yeah, I knew we would be this good. I had faith in Dak Prescott. That's why I
yeah,
drafted
until
him.
you
I totally didn't try and trade up for a Paxton Lynch. Who's that? I never heard of no Paxton Lynch."
here's the issue with Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott, and you sort of know where I'm going with
Yep,
this.
go ahead.
Dak Prescott, if you want to win games in the league, you will not put in Tony Romo.
Oh, you're
And
saying it too.
that
Everyone's saying it. Bill,
and
just
here's the issue.
all right. Go for it.
Here's the issue, and I'm gonna put it this way: if you if you have a good young quarterback and you have a old aging veteran, sort of like a a Drew Bledsoe Tom Brady
You know
situation.
what's the best part? Didn't Tony Romo, Drew Bledsoe, just like Tom Brady did it to him?
Yep,
I guess
exactly.
it's kind
I
of
mean,
karma in a way if that happens.
I mean, Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a second year quarterback and came in and took over Drew Bledsoe's job. Drew Bledsoe, had he stayed with New England, he would have been a second string quarterback. And they decided to go with the young guy that has the it factor. And I think Dak Prescott has the it factor. Now, is that going to translate to a Super Bowl this year? No, I
No,
don't
because
think
you
they
got to
have the
deal with
team.
Minnesota.
They don't have the team to make a deep playoff push or a playoff push at all. Maybe.
Well, Bill, they can
Here's
get into the playoffs. I mean, you're in the worst division in that league or in that side
yeah.
of the
I
league.
mean, here's the issue: is if you take Dak Prescott out, if he's doing really well, will he recapture his mojo if Tony Romo gets injured
Well,
again?
let's be real,
And I
Bill.
don't know if
It
that's
won't take much to. It won't take long before Romo gets out again.
exactly. That's the point is you don't want to put Tony Romo in that game. You take him out, he is the backup, and then you cut him. That's what you do with Tony Romo. He is not starting another game for the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm getting. Well, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I gotta defend it because Bill, I disagree. I don't think that line is as good as it is right now because you have two players who are out, like Lyle Collins on the IR boomerang. Because the IR boomerang had a rule change. It's now 8 weeks instead of 6 weeks. So yeah, it's even worse to fall on IR this year. But I think you should get him back in here because there is a chance he might not get hurt. I mean, the best chance is going to be probably against Philly, ironically, especially with Jim Schwartz. So I understand maybe they shouldn't even start him when it comes to the Eagles because how did you describe Jim Schwartz's defensive style again, Bill?
Dirty, mean, and
They're
nasty.
gonna tell the players, "Hey, don't say it out loud, but you're gonna try and take Romo out of the game."
I mean, his back is a huge target to hit. And that line is shaky at best right now. And the player that's been getting out of trouble with his legs and killing teams with his legs will not be Tony Romo. Tony Romo's running days are done. The quarterback that has his legs under him and can run the football and get out of situations is Dak Prescott.
Yeah. So, other than that, like I said before, it's gonna be annoying to hear, especially late in the year. Oh, look, who's gonna be offensive rookie of the year? It's gotta be Dak Prescott. It's gotta be Ezekiel Elliott. It's gonna be one of them,
Nope.
Bill, because they're a Cowboy player. They play for the Dallas Cowboys. That's all that it is. They are America's team because they are America's most hyped and talked about. They are the NFL version of the Yankees.
I would agree.
They are
I
the
would agree with
NFL
that.
Yankees. They are the NBA Lakers. I mean, I would say
The
Warriors, but
NHL
the
Red
Warriors have
Wings.
only a 2-year thing so far.
My NHL Red Wings.
Yeah, that's
Gotta
true.
go.
Although,
So
but
I root for a Yankees like team because that's one of my hometown teams.
well, what can you do, Bill? Anyway, so I think that's it for these four. Other games I would like to mention, Bill. I mean, the NFC title game teams are in a weird spot because sure the Cardinals won, but I mean they have a couple games they could just come out and just win, but they aren't doing so good. They're not positive, and the Panthers are doing worse. The Panthers are, I wouldn't say a tire fire, but it is shocking to see a 15-1 team go 1-4 so far. You know what I mean? And if they wanted the number one spot, congrats. You just eliminated any chance of that. Like you have to
I mean,
pray to whatever god you support to not let the Vikings go 13-3, because that's what it's looking like they're gonna go.
I mean, literally, the biggest surprise was that Monday night game last night.
That was the one that they shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, that was. They had a lead. They wasted a big game by Greg Olson. I mean, wasted it.
Well, that's a shocker, and since he's like the NFC's Gronk.
Exactly. I mean, good lord. I mean, what more can you do? You had the lead, and you lose to Tampa Bay, who has not been very good this
Yeah,
year.
I mean, to be fair, they lost their Jenga piece. They lost uh, Doug Martin.
Oh
He
yeah.
is their Jenga piece, and then they lost Charles Sims to IR. So their running game is non-existent, and they needed that to be even capable or to stay in games. But yeah, one other game, Bill. I'm telling you, Bill. This is my most enjoyable team to watch. The Raiders. I mean, to be fair, that should have been an overtime game, but the Chargers always find ways to lose games. They are the best 1-4 team in the history of the NFL because they
Oh
keep
yeah.
leads and they blow them. Like, if you want to go to
I
don't
mean,
go to a Chargers game because until they figure out how to not choke, I don't think you Chargers fans should go and watch their games because there are games where they were favorites. All they had to do was just let the clock reach zero, and they fumble the ball. Melvin Gordon fumbled the ball, and then the botch snap, and that was a chip shot field goal, no less. It's one thing if you miss it, but to let it go like that, it's just a situation of what if. Do you know what I mean? It just speculates the alternate universes, which you better hope you believe in multiverse theory. But
right?
another game, I mean, the Falcons, Bill. The Falcons, I want to say they're for real just as much as the Vikings, but here's the thing. They went 6-0 last year, and then they went 8-8 at the end of the year. They only won two out of their rest of the games. Out of the 10 games
And
left.
I mean, and to be fair, they were playing a rookie. They were playing a rookie quarterback that looked
Yeah, but
way
to be
in
fair,
over
but
his
I
head.
gotta still go against that, Bill, because they played the Denver defense, which they're not last year's defense, but you say they're number one, and they beat a number one defense in your mind, so you kind of gotta give them credit.
I'll give them a little credit. I mean,
And
you know,
Denver
I,
is not a
I'm
place you want to go either.
I'm I'm not sold on the Denver defense this year.
Well, that
Denver
was what my
defense.
reason for them not making the playoffs. Because their defense lost some people. I mean, the real good player. If you want me to give you an MVP for them from them, I don't say it's Von Miller. I say it's Aqib Talib. Because he alone, he had to get help sometimes, but he was challenging Julio Jones. Because you want to know what won Denver or Atlanta the game, their run game. Not just Devontae
Right.
Freeman, but Coleman.
Oh yeah.
So that's what won them that game. But
And shout out to Tevin Coleman who played in that game with the sickle cell trait.
yeah. But other than that, Bill, nice week. But anyway, I think. Are you ready, Bill? Are you ready for the picks? All
Indeed.
right, start us off.
Here we go. The Thursday game, the Denver Broncos at the San Diego Chargers.
Kubiak's not coaching this game. He has a severe migraine and won't be allowed to be on the field. Which it's fine because they could play their worst game and the Chargers will still blow it. So I'm going Denver, just because the Chargers will give them the game.
I've also got Denver. The Chargers are just not a good team.
Yep.
Next up, the Sunday games, the 1 o'clock games. The San Francisco 49ers at the Buffalo
Colin
Bills.
Kaepernick is starting, and I don't think it makes a difference. Buffalo has gone 3-0 after their 0-2 start. I don't think they're for real, but this is a good position to be in, considering, Rex Ryan was in one of the hottest seats at that time. I'm going Buffalo. They're playing lights out. They're going to have a game they drop, but I don't think it's this one.
I've got an upset coming right here. The San Francisco 49ers are traveling across the country and going to upset the Buffalo Bills at
I'm no
home.
Rexpert,
And
Bill, but you're not wrong for making this kind of pick.
I think the 49ers are going to be railing around Colin Kaepernick because I think this is going to be one of those games that are going to be heavily scrutinized in the coming days. Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Football
You want to talk
Team.
about another team that's gone 3-0 after their 0-2 start? It's Washington. I'm gonna go with the Washington Football Team because, yeah, the Eagles are good, but something tells me this is just a game that Washington's gonna steal because they're stealing games, and I think they're gonna do it one more time. This is a division where I think they're all gonna split with each other.
I've also got the Washington Football Team defeating the Eagles. I just think, Washington overall is
You know who's
just a
gonna
better
win them
team.
this game? Deshaun Jackson, and he's gonna taunt his way into the end zone.
Yeah, he'll just do whatever. The next game up is the Cleveland Browns at the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans and the Browns. The Titans are going to go 3-2. Or 3-3. They're going to break even. I'm also shocked the Titans won that game, but DeMarco Murray's is probably the best off-season grab, or one of the best, because he is playing lights out, and that's because Derrick Henry hasn't even taken the show yet. I expect DeMarco Murray to have his best game ever this week. I mean, out of all the games he's played, not even the Dallas era, that last year in Dallas, will compare to this game.
I think the Tennessee Titans will win. I think Marcus Mariota will have his best day as a pro.
Yeah, but it takes the Browns to do it.
Next up, the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants.
The Ravens, I know they lost Steve Smith, but they cannot lose games like this. They're 0-2 right now. Well, they are on a 2-game losing streak, I mean. They should not go 3-3. I just can't think of that. They were playing so good early. And I think they're going to bounce back on a crummy New York team. I don't know if they'll shut down Odell Beckham, but if they do, you make my day, Baltimore.
I've got the Baltimore Ravens playing well after they fired their offensive coordinator. They're done play for uh, the new coordinator. Next up, the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans
Okay, for some
Saints.
context, Bill and I are going to be picking from two different situations because we don't know if Cam's starting. So we're going to give different results for if he starts or if he doesn't. I'm going to say the
Right.
Panthers will win if he starts, but they will lose to the Saints if he doesn't start.
Same here. I got the exact same thought process. If Cam Newton is not playing in this game, the Saints are going to absolutely
This
stomp
is going to be
the
a shootout,
Panthers.
that's why. And if there's no Cam to hang with that, they've got no chance.
Exactly. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Chicago
If
Bears.
Jacksonville wants a game to just start building momentum off of, this is the one to do it. You went from the Colts, which you won that one, good for you, and then you got Chicago, crummy team. It's easy. This is not a. I wouldn't say it's an outright gimme, but I think the Jags will win by a comfortable margin.
I also have the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Bears. The Bears are just bad. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit
Party like it's
Lions.
1991 because the Lions this week, all their stuff is going to be priced like it was in the 90s. It's hooray for inflation. We love you. I've got the Detroit Lions taking this one. It won't be easy. It's because these Lions play close apparently, but I think because the Rams play good when they want to, so it's the same with Detroit. But I think Detroit will just put up a few more points.
I got Detroit as well. I don't know why I'm picking them. I don't have any faith in you. Don't don't
Well,
disappoint me.
the line not the Lions, the Rams off defensive line is going to be a problem. Aaron Donald, I don't know if you know this, he's hit the quarterback I think the most out of any defensive tackle or just any defensive player in general.
Right.
He is a MVP candidate that nobody will speak about, and it's disrespectful.
Right.
But yeah, that's the only thing that worries me for this game.
Right. All right. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Miami
Oh come
Dolphins.
on, guys, this is easy. Pittsburgh gonna go 5-1 and just light up Hard Rock Stadium because yeah, that's the new name of the stadium, by the way. It's
You're gonna have to get.
it would not surprise me if Pittsburgh shuts them out in their own place.
they're going to have to
But
give. They're gonna have to give Flipper some booze because the Dolphins are going to lose to the Steelers. I mean, they're going to get absolutely stomped.
yeah, it's not a good time to be a Dolphins fan.
Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals at the New England
I think
Patriots.
Tom Brady will shake off some rust as they just punish the Bengals. The Bengals are at best going 8-8 this year because the Patriots, the Tom Brady revenge tour continues, and there is no hope for Cincinnati this game. I'm going New
Yeah,
England.
yeah, I got the same result there. The Patriots are going to crush the Bengals. All right, next up, the 4 o'clock games, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs at the Oakland
I want to watch
Raiders.
this game. Oakland Raiders are going to just take out the Chiefs. It's going to be close because Raiders like to make games fun, but you know what? I'm liking Oakland this year. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl, but I am damn glad that of all the teams that were hyped up this year, they picked the one team that lost a lot of that hype train towards the beginning of the preseason is the one that's on top. I've got Oakland.
I also have Oakland. They're not crush the Chiefs.
Also, this is
Next,
crucial for the sake of wild card seedings. I forgot to mention these games for 4 o'clock will determine who's going to the playoffs at the end of the year.
ooh. All right. So speaking of that, the Atlanta Falcons at the Seattle
Okay, Bill.
Seahawks.
Whoever of these two wins this game, and assuming they get the similar records, the winner of this team is going to get the other bye week. And I'm thinking it's Seattle, and it's not going to be pretty. But Seattle's bye week, they're refreshed. They needed it, considering Russell Wilson was, not at 100%. He's going to be a lot better, and he's going to outscore Atlanta in a semi-shootout.
I also got Seattle. I think it's not going to be even close.
Wow, really? You think it's that bad? I'm just saying, if Atlanta
Yep.
steals this one, it's kind of hard for them not to make the playoffs. Like, if they don't, they deserve to be fired. I'm just saying,
Right.
they can hang with some teams so far, with the big teams so far.
Right. All right. So next up, the Dallas Cowboys at the Green Bay
Was it a catch?
Packers.
Was it not a catch? Who cares? Another rematch of this recent grudge, and I have Green Bay because I don't care about if you think Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott are Rookie of the Year. If unless they beat Green Bay, I am not sold on this team as being a so-called Super Bowl powerhouse on offense. Green Bay has done it for so long, and I think they're going to do it again. If you want any quarterback to expose your bad defense, I will take Aaron Rodgers like I would Tom Brady or Big Ben. I've got Green Bay to win this shootout by a comfortable margin, and I mean like 40-30.
Ooh. And I've got Green Bay as well. I don't see how Dallas is going to beat
If
Green
Dallas
Bay.
can beat Green Bay, I will admit that they're for real. So, Dallas fans, you better be praying with all you got for this.
Next up, the Sunday night game, the Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans.
If the Colts win this game, it is like how it's always been. The Colts always dominating the AFC South, which is a bunch of shit teams minus them. But if the Texans win, it shows how frail the Colts are. Because let me tell you something, Bill. In the last 3 games, Andrew Luck has been sacked about an average 5 times. He got sacked
Yep.
5 times in the last game against the Bears, and then got sacked 6 times against the Jaguars, who aren't even, and those two teams aren't like top defenses. So I would expect Clowney and Merciless to brutally massacre Andrew Luck. But here's the thing, Andrew Luck is still always keeping this team in the game. If you want to talk about MVPs, it should be Andrew Luck, just for the fact he makes this shit Colts team just contend. So I'm going with Houston on this one, because I don't care if the Colts are the number 3 team in points put up. They just can't they just can't protect Andrew Luck. And it's gonna hurt him sooner or later.
Right. I mean, I agree. I have Houston defeating Indianapolis. I think it's going to be a shootout as well. It's going to be like a 39-35 game. Then the Monday night game, the New York Jets at the Arizona Cardinals.
Look, Bill, it is the colorblind bowl version 2, because it's red and green. Rest in peace, people who can't see those colors, because I think this game is actually gonna be a high scoring game. Surprisingly, something tells me the Jets, or at least Fitzpatrick, is gonna try put up a lot more points than he has, but it doesn't matter, because in the end, you have the star power of Michael Floyd, John Brown, and Larry Fitzgerald, and David Johnson. The Cardinals are going to probably win this one like 30-24.
And I also have the Cardinals winning. I think it's not close.
Come on, I mean, Bill, it will scare me if I see the Cardinals go 2-4. I will be worried for Bruce Arians, because I think he's a great coach. All right, Bill. Next week's or the week after's Thursday night game.
All right, and that is the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers.
I don't know how they did it last year on Brett Favre night, but they're not doing it again. Green Bay is going to probably shut out Chicago in the first half, and then it's going to be the backup for the rest of the game.
this has blowout written all over it. It's going to be a blowout. The Packers will win.
All right then. I think I'll do it for this week. Have anything? Do you have anything else to say, Bill?
Nope.
All right then. We will see you guys for week 7.